Hey everyone, Jay Whitner here with Space Headlines. We do a quick recap each week of what's going on in space. And today we're going to be talking about the fourth week of June 2019. Our first item has to do with NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Due to delays encountered by the two suppliers for this, the two contractors, SpaceX and Boeing, they've revised the target dates for the first crew deliveries using those two vehicles to the International Space Station. The new target is November of 2019 for both companies, which is a little bit surprising. As I understand it, the SpaceX crew will do a mission, and then like 2 weeks later, the Boeing crew will do their mission. So these are going to be very close together. And some other things that were mentioned in the same article where I found this is there's a new International Space Station module called the Nauka. It's a Russian module that's been under development for some time. It's had many, many delays. They think now that's going to launch next year. So congrats to the Russians for getting that put together. And in the following year, in 2021, we should see the first Dream Chaser mission to the ISS. We had some really early fireworks this year. The 4th of July isn't quite here, but we had the first launch of the Falcon Heavy at night. So this was a pretty gaudy sight. The rocket launched 24 satellites in this mission. And the two side boosters landed safely back in Florida. But Elon Musk had already previously stated that the core would be very challenging due to the reentry speed of the core for this particular mission. And somewhat as expected, the core was not able to land on the drone ship offshore. This was very complicated because the satellites had to be placed into 3 different orbits. So they're describing this as the most complex Falcon Heavy mission ever. So congratulations to SpaceX. Another first that they experienced in this mission was they caught one of the fairings. If you're watching our show, you probably realize that a fairing is like half of the nose cone of the rocket. So when the rocket is taking off, at a certain point in the flight, the fairing splits apart to release the payload. And those pieces, the 2 pieces that make up the nose cone, are very expensive, and they have a lot of sophisticated electronics inside. So they've been trying to catch them so they don't land and hit the water and get salt water all over these delicate electronics. And for the first time, they were able to catch one of the fairings. So this could be a big money saver for SpaceX and yet another first for them. NASA picked out 3 planetary missions for funding. The missions I'm specifically referring to are what they call small, innovative mission class. So these are obviously smaller, less expensive missions. One of these is to study binary asteroids. One is to map ice deposits on the moon. And this is exciting stuff because it's being done at an affordable price point. It also appears that NASA is soon going to give the green light to what's called the Dragonfly mission. This would be to the Saturn moon Titan, and includes a flying drone, as you might surmise from the name of the mission. A vice president at SpaceX made some really interesting remarks about the Starship in terms of the timeline that they're aiming at for Starship. The guy is Jonathan Hoffeller, and he's vice president of commercial sales. So he was at a conference giving some remarks. And what he said basically is they expect the Starship itself, the second stage, to reach orbit by the end of the year, which would be a big first. If they do what it seems like to me from the remarks, what they said, that this would be a first example of a single stage to orbit. Now, the result would be it couldn't carry any noticeable payload, but still a very interesting capability for the Starship. Then in 2020, next year, we would see the 2 pieces flying, in their official configuration, with the Super Heavy on the bottom and the Starship on top, and that reaching orbit. And then by 2021, we would be seeing commercial payloads going to space from the Starship. So this is great news. They did not make any mention of people aboard the flights, or also they didn't mention any missions to the lunar vicinity in this remarks that the guy made. But very exciting stuff. 2021 for the Starship to be good to go for cargo. 3 nations are working together on a mission called Heracles. And they are Canada and Japan and Europe. I guess ESA is doing it. So what they want to do is send this thing to the moon that you see depicted here. They want to collect some samples, and they want to survey lunar terrain in support of future crewed missions to the moon. The timing is such that if NASA is able to hit their timeline goals for Artemis will actually happen before this mission of Heracles. But if NASA's schedule slips, it could turn out that Heracles' information might be available prior to the Artemis mission. There was a really interesting article in the Space Review about the price of getting into orbit, how low can it go for passenger tickets. And there were several people involved in the story, but they're big names in the industry. Sam Dinkin was the author, and Jeff Grayson, some of his remarks are there, and Jim Bennett's. And there's a lot of information that you can see in detail in the Space Review. But the bottom line is under $100,000 for tickets to go to space is what they think is feasible. And this is based on the Starship. So this does not really take into account future vehicles that might even do better. So effectively what they're saying is that the Starship itself can drive ticket prices under $100,000 for somebody to go to space. So very exciting stuff. That's it for our coverage for this week, the last week of June 2019. Check back with us in a week, and we'll be talking about the first week in July. Take care.